Welcome back to MidPoint, professor of Middle Eastern Studies at Florida Atlantic University and the author of Salafism in Lebanon, a fascinating book. Dr. Rabil joins us in the studio. We have now talked about this assimilation, if you will.
Yes.
But it seems that that's the biggest problem, because what happens is you have the radical Islamists, they do not want to assimilate, and the governments allow that. They propagate it. They push it forward. They say, it's okay, don't worry about it. That's fracturing society from the very core of society. And isn't that what's part of causing this problem? There's that schism that's there.
It's a big cause of what's causing this problem, and you are absolutely right, and let me highlight your points.
Please.
In France, for example, you have certain organization. I'll mention some, Jama'at al-Tabligh, or certain Salafi organization, that do not embrace violence, but their ideology is about supporting a very austere form of Islam. You know, so what they are creating now in France, in certain areas in France, in the banlieue, and where you have certain Muslims, those radical Muslims, those Salafi Muslims, they will say, listen, you are living here in France, but still you can live in Paris, in France, and still live according to our own views of society, mainly undergirded by their view of Islam. And this should not happen. So really, the French society and the French government, they have to be very careful with those radical Muslims, with the webinars, with the Salafi organization, that they are purveying, they are supporting this sub-society, which is separate from French society.
Then why are they supporting it? Is it political correctness or simply because they're scared to death?
All right, I wouldn't say now you are speaking about the French government.
Sure, any government for that matter, but
the French government does not support it. The French government, it faces some kind of a problem where they see that you have a number of Muslims, French, they have been alienated from the government or alienated from society. What they are going to do with them? Now, you
kick them out. That's what some people would say.
Well, they are pursuing multiple channels, multiple ways of dealing with them. First, they say, listen, we want you to assimilate. We are having now certain affirmative action. For example, you go to Marseille, if you are a French of Algerian descent, you will have most likely, you know, a higher percentage of being hired. But on the other hand, they are not going, and this is where I agree with you, and clamping down on radical Muslims, on Salafi Muslims, on those mosques who distribute hatred literature. And you have them there. And more so, what is really a reflection of what's happening in French society, to have more than 1,300 French Muslims going to fight in Syria and Iraq.
Well, isn't it?
And this is really a reflection. They have a problem on their hand, and they have to deal with it. And it's very important to note, you have a lot. I went to Paris more than one time. As a matter of fact, Paris is the favorite city of my wife. And I go there and I did some research there. You have many Muslims who are secular. You can deal with them, but also at the same time, you have certain Muslims who embrace certain ideas that don't sit well, absolutely don't sit well with Western culture.
Then haven't we reached the point, and this is what a lot of people continue to ask, where when you know these people are there, you know that they harbor radical beliefs, you know that they're going to be a problem. Look, we want everybody to come into our country. We want everybody to add to whatever we are. Yes. But if you don't want to add to it, if you don't want to assimilate, get out.
Well, let them get out.
I mean, and push them out. I mean, that's what people are saying. And I know you can't do that. I understand. But you've got to do something to stop the flood of radical Islam groups forming in these cities.
Yes, and this is why, and this is why they have to be extremely careful. What's going on in the mosque? What's going on in their society? What's going on now with webinars? What's going on with ISIS giving directives for Muslims? So really, this is why, by pursuing this two channel, one channel, okay, you assimilate, you are welcome here, but on the other hand, you have to respect our law and our culture.
And that's the biggest problem here, because the radical Islamists do not want to respect anything that is not what they believe.
And it's a big problem, especially now it's growing bigger and bigger with the growth of the Muslim community in Europe, not only in France, but throughout Europe.
Everybody's just got to get a little harder edge. I got about 30 seconds left, but everybody's just got to get a little harder edged in this, don't they?
Yes, yes. I agree with that, and let me add something probably in a few seconds.
Please.
This is where Europe has to work really and enhance the security cooperation with United States. Europe recently has been very sensitive regarding sharing personal data of European citizens with the US government. I think now this is a time where really the leadership of Europe and the leadership of United States, they work together and enhance one of the most important alliance called the Transatlantic Alliance that protects our Western culture. And Western civilization.
Continue to work together.
Yes.
Get rid of the fact you have to eventually, you got to cut a cancer out.
I agree with you.
Sooner or later. All right. I want to remind everybody.
Sooner better than later.
Sooner better than later. The book, once again, is Salafism in Lebanon. I read it. I read a chapter at a time, go back and read it again. It is a fascinatingly well-researched book. You need to read it to understand a little bit more about what's going on.
Thank you, Ed.
Always
it's my
a pleasure
to be here.
Thanks so much.
It's a pleasure.
We'll see you again real soon.
Thank
All right, short break. We return with a brief respite from the Paris attacks and bring it home to America, where another battle is about to explode any day now, one that John Boehner had better be prepared for. On MidPoint.